Hey, thanks for joining today. Thanks for hopping in. Ready to master yourself and level up. This one is going to be that next step, compounding off of what we talked about last week with building habits. We'll do a little recap, but the biggest thing with this one, man, it's all going to be about how you use your energy. What is your energy? And energy, man, is the language of the universe. And that's where emotions kind of fall in. And we'll talk about how these intertwine and commingle, but dude, I honestly, sales is a great place to start with this whole message because really this is how me personally I launched into all this stuff. When I started learning about psychology from the first get-go, it was understanding body language, tonality, how to speak to people, how to communicate with people, understanding why people act the way they do, respond the way they do, what drives them, all that stuff that goes into negotiation, sales, and business really led me into understanding and taking a step back and thinking like, okay, if we can do this, and I don't want to say manipulate, but if we can really control the sale, control the buyer's reality based on how we set up the words, set up the structure, that shows that really that's guiding them through energy. They're receiving energy and they're giving forth energy that way too. So what is that? What is that? That put that valuable question in my mind. And from there, I just started to like dive in, just started to be like, okay, how can I explain this on a deeper note? Like, what is energy? Like, okay, yes, you speak and there's energy in those words, energy that formulates through waves that is received into our being through receptors that translate those waves into information. How can that be? And I started thinking about, okay, why is that? And then, dude, diving in more, which we'll talk about just learning the basics of energy, the differences of energy, what we can understand energy is, and understanding how that's used and how that can correlate with getting and achieving what you desire, your goals, the weight loss journey, the muscle growth journey, prepping for a bodybuilding show, how we can use our energy, how we can focus our mind to be full force, unstoppable, on point towards our goals, be so aligned with everything that is our goals that we just fit into place and we achieve it without effort, with ease. But there's going to be effort, of course, but it's a lot less effort than it needs to be, which is another thing, man. So that's, dude, in a nutshell right there, that's the gist of what we're going to talk about today. If you got some questions, we'll do that at the end. We'll open it up at the end. That way we can kind of talk about that, expand on concepts a little bit more. All right, dude, let's get rolling here. So we're going to dive in today. And thank you again, man, for joining me today with this message. This is going to be something powerful here. So just a recap from last week, we are diving in on mastery level techniques, strategies, how to level up your life. So the core concept is understanding what life is about. There's a wheel that you can really emulate life on, and it's all about really how we perceive it, how we use our energy through it, and how well we stay committed to our goals and our purpose, because that then determines our reality and determines and shapes the world around us. So we're diving into how we can sharpen the tool that is our mind so that we can become our highest self here. Now, a recap, like I said, from last week, we talked about habits. We talked about building habits, what they are, the anatomy of a habit, understanding how to analyze your habits, how to reconstruct your habits, and how to make sure that you have habits that are going to lead you towards success. Now, this is very important because that is going to be the fundamental factor in determining if you achieve the goals that you want to achieve, or if you just fall short. If you have a dream, but you just don't put in the work and you just fall short. That happens to a lot of people out there. For that reason right there, they do not assess their habits. They don't check their habits. They don't understand what their systems, what their processes are. They never analyze it. Therefore, they remain unknown to themselves, because they don't understand themselves. And if you want to master yourself, you want to level up at any point, in any way, you need to understand yourself. Just like a game, right? Just like Monopoly or chess or checkers or any other game. First, in order to win, you got to understand how to play the game. You got to understand your opponent, and then you got to understand yourself. What you need to do in order to achieve success, in order to win, in order to stack those checkers and get the queen, in order to get checkmate, So a lot of things through games, a lot of systems, a lot of process, a lot of fundamental core values, if you see, can be interchanged with everything because it's all kind of emulating the greater purpose in life. We always have to learn, we always have to grow, and we always are striving to achieve our highest self, our highest purpose. We should be anyway. Most of us are still unaware. They're still in the first phase of things, analyzing, but they don't really know because they don't really know what they have, what they're doing. So once you get out of that, once you wake up, once you can see and take a step back, what your habits are, what are you currently doing, and how is that affecting you, then you can start to change it, start to contour it, start to manipulate it, start to make it a working process to help you, to be the guiding factor on your journey, to keep you on the path aligned with your purpose. So moving in on that, this next topic here, this next lesson today, I want to talk about the power of your energy. I got some notes jotted down because there's a lot of information in this, and I just want to make sure I got it written, or I have it right here. So if you see me looking down, that's why. But the biggest thing I want to make sure here, I want you to know what energy is. I want you to understand that energy is everything, and everything is energy. Nikola Tesla talked about if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you have to think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration. There is a reason for that, because at the fundamental level, what we've seen, what science is showing us, and quantum physics is showing us, is that you can look at the smallest bit of a molecule, which is the atom, and it is energy. It is pure energy, pure potential of energy, unlimited potential of energy. And that is, in essence, what makes us up. We are a bunch of cells. We are a bunch of atoms inside those cells, a bunch of molecules, and those atoms are an infinite potential of energy. We are that. And just like the universe, we're all made up of that chemical structure, that infinite potential of energy. Because the biggest thing to know about energy, it's neither created nor is destroyed. You can only transfer it. That's like fire here. For example, you light something on fire. It doesn't just disappear. It turns into ash. It turns into another substance. It goes from one to another. A transformation has to happen. And usually through fire, that happens, a chemical process. Things change. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't the master at chemistry here, but I still got a grip of it. And it's a lot to understand. So I'm not going to get into all the chemistry part of things, but just know kind of what we're talking about is the fundamental core concepts, the value points of this. So to understand energy, to understand the very foundation that energy makes up everything in our universe, like everything is vibrating because it's energy. Energy vibrates. Atoms vibrate. At the fundamental level of a molecule, the atom, its potential, it's an unlimited potential of energy, and it's always moving. It's always vibrating. It's not just staying still. It's always moving. So everything is made up of atoms. So if you can visualize that, you can see that everything then isn't this dense structure that we see, that we perceive. It's actually on a deeper level, on the smallest level, it's vibrating, a bunch of little parts vibrating. So if you think about that, like nothing's actually solid. Like I'm not even solid. You're not even solid. We're just molecules that are vibrating tightly together. Isn't that freaking weird? Anyway, the coolest thing about that, though, is just to understand what we are. Because once you understand, you can then gain knowledge on how the bigger picture works here. You got to understand yourself at the fundamental level, though. So how does that fit in with what we're talking about? I know that was a rant, that was a tangent, but this is fitting so perfectly with what we're talking about today, because if we can understand that you are energy, that we are energy, then you can understand that how that energy is spent will determine what you achieve in life, where your life goes, what your reality is. So on a deeper level here, okay, we got to understand that energy can always be transformed, never created, never destroyed. So we're never creating things. We're never creating energy. We're just transforming it based on how we go through our day, how we live, how we perceive that world. See, this is where we start to get into a huge factor of that. Emotions really tell the language of the universe, because our emotions transfer into energetic feelings that vibrates throughout our body. So if you ever had a thought if say you're scared of heights or something, and you close your eyes right now and you visualize yourself climbing up a ladder and then looking down, and you'll start to feel that feeling of scared, of afraid, of anxiety. That's an emotion transferring into energy, which is the feeling of being scared, of anxiety. So when you do that, when you consistently go through that emotional state to transfer into a feeling that resonates your whole body into that feeling, into that vibration, that determines where you move in life, how you feel, how your personality becomes. And that determines what your life will become as well. So if you're always in this state of fear and anxiety, that's where high stress starts to change your reality into mimicking that. You attract, and it's like it's a magnet here. Now, this is really where the law of manifestation fits in. And just to kind of touch on this a little bit later, I just want you to know kind of the bigger picture, how these parts fit in here. So with our emotional state, how we feel, it determines our reality around us based on that energetic frequency that we're emitting. We are, just like a lot of scientists say, we're like giant radio signals, sending and receiving signals throughout the universe. A lot of people, and to explain this on a deeper level, something that maybe you've heard before, have you ever heard of the sixth sense? You just sense it. You just got that gut feeling that you just don't know why, but there's something about that gut feeling, that sixth sense. That is your body receiving signals from the outside world, receiving that energy, transforming it into information that your conscious mind can't quite perceive why, the logical side of things, but your subconscious mind, your vibrational state, your energy, your soul, it understands that. It translates, it transmutes it into something tangible that you can grasp onto. I don't think I should do that. I don't know why, but I'm not going to. It pushes you or pulls you in direction. That's what we're talking about here on a deeper level. So getting back to the main point here, your energy really determines everything. All right. And how you use that energy is going to transmute into really what you do with your life. Though on a more important scale, let's talk about weight training. Let's talk about losing weight, building muscle. When you're talking about losing weight, let's say you start from a point of you're overweight, you're unhealthy, you have been doing all these certain things, you built up these habits that led you to this point, eating habits, thinking habits, all these certain habits accumulated and compounded over time to get you into this place where you're unhealthy, you're overweight, you don't like the way you look, the way you feel. It makes you feel less confident. So taking that, you want to do something about it. You want to start, you say, enough's enough. I want to get rid of this. I want to change my life. So what do I got to do? I got to start with a weight training program. You got to start with a diet, right? You got to go through this process, but then you find out my old habits are stopping me from doing the positive things that I know I need to do to achieve my goals. So there's one of two things that could happen. I could understand that, I can analyze it, and then I can use my thoughts to say, no, it's okay. It's just one time. I can slack off and I'll restart next Monday or so. And then you can stay in that comfort, that state of comfortability, that comfort zone. You can acknowledge that is hard, and you're going to do what's easy right now because it feels better that way and you don't want to suffer. That is a choice to use your energy, to put it in a direction of the fast fix, the quick fix, the no suffering now, the win now, suffer later. All right. That is not always going to get you towards your goal. And this is really what I want you to understand here when you're really trying to achieve a goal, when you're trying to get anything, you got to focus on the inward first. And this is where mastery of yourself comes into play. You got to master yourself. You have to change your mind, the way you see and the way you perceive and the habits that you have. So this is the first step here. So you have to then, if you're trying to lose all that weight, you have to change your mindset, how you look at that. And that changes and alters the way you put your energy into it. Does that make sense, right? You kind of understand how that flow, how that sequence fits in. Now, this is something that I know it's a lot of information here. I just want you to keep an open mind when you think about this. Just think about, how is my energy really determining the world around me, right? The positive and the negative. Look at both sides. So when we are trying to achieve that goal of weight loss, we need to understand that there's a choice that needs to be made. You either choose the quick fix, the thing that will give you that pleasure, keep you in that comfort zone, keep you right where you are right now, but you'll suffer later, or you can choose that suffering now. And then the long term, you're going to win. You're going to achieve something worthwhile. That is the choice. We have these two choices, these two paths. Almost you can say like good or evil here, or evil or good, excuse me, because the good choice that's always going to lead you to success, it's going to lead you towards your goals, is the suffering in the short term so you can conquer in the long term. See, there's suffering. If you notice the structure between those two, there's suffering in both aspects, both paths. That's something, unfortunately, we just can't get around. We're going to suffer with life. Life is suffering. And the person that says, oh, it's not fair that I have to go through this, well, they're just naive in the way that the world works, because we all have to go through it. It's not we don't need to not or try to avoid suffering completely. That's not the way to live. Trying to avoid suffering completely is not the way to live. You want to endure suffering, because suffering leads to strength. And that strength leads to building your character. And building your character leads to perseverance that strengthens your entire being. And it elevates you into that mastery level, that mastery of yourself. So you got to understand the path that you need to take is either good or evil. It's going to lead you to your goals, or it's going to deter you from your goals. So understand, at the fundamental level, this decision can be applied with everything, big and small. If when you're starting your diet the first week, it might go great, right? You're getting all your meals in, you're cutting out sugar, you're doing all the things that you know you need to do in order to lose weight, that your coach said, that I told you to. But then that second week happens, maybe the weekend happens, you think, oh, I should reward myself for this good. That's a thought process to stay in that comfort zone, that you're pushing your energy towards that. And once you start to tag into that, once you start to sit with that thought, it starts to get deeper. It starts to become stronger. And you start to think in more ways in that aligns with that thought. So you start to feel like you should get something that satisfies you right now, that is a good job for the hard work that you put in this whole past week, right? So you cheat a little bit. You allow yourself to get one finger in the cookie dough and just have some cookie dough, or whatever it may be. And then that next week, Monday comes along and you're like, all right, let's do it again. Something's different. You notice you don't have quite the focus, the alignment, the energy, the passion that you did that last week. So you go through the day, and then you start to notice your energy is being pulled and your attention is being pulled in every which way, through phones, through work, through your life, you're dating, your significant other, your wife, your husband, your kids, your attention's being pulled every which way. And especially if you're watching the news today, that gets your attention all over the world. So your attention is being all over, is being ping-ponged off of everything. And where your attention goes, your energy flows. So if your attention is flowing all over, you start to step back on your commitment to achieving your weight loss goal. And then you come back to it a couple of days later after the week started, and you're like, dude, what happened? Where'd I go? What happened? But you got to realize that it all started from that one thought, that one why in the road, where you could have made that decision. Say, should I stick my finger in that cookie dough and have that little bit? Should I cheat that one little time? From that decision, how you use your energy there will determine the week, the coming days, how and what happens in the future. So you can see here, what you do, how you use your energy in every single moment is going to set you up for either success or either failure. So understand that, understand your habits, understand how you can use your energy for success or for failure. I like to say for good or for evil. Okay. There is a great Bible verse that I just love. When I was putting together this message, I saw this Bible verse and it just resonated with me. It's Ecclesiastes 10:10. If the axe is dull and he does not sharpen the edge, he will have to exert more strength. Wisdom has the advantage over giving success. So basically here, The man that does not sharpen his axe, he will have to exert a lot more strength. He's going to have to cut down really swing for longer to really try to cut down that tree. The wisdom here, what this is so beautiful about this quote, about this verse, is wisdom is not knowing that you need to use an axe to cut down a tree. Wisdom is knowing that you need to sharpen it first before you even start. And that is how you work effectively, work efficiently, sustainably, and you get what you desire, honestly, right there. So what we can take away from that, guys, you got to understand how you use your energy. You got to understand your energy in this analogy is the axe, and how you sharpen that tool is going to determine how quickly, how optimally you achieve success, you achieve your goal. See, if you go through life and you don't sharpen your axe, you're going to be pushed and pulled. Your attention is going to be contoured all over. It's going to be bouncing over everything. All the distractions of life will creep in, and it will take your energy, and it will slow your progress towards your goals. See, the main thing I want you to understand here, guys, is that you have a choice. You're not just a victim here. We all have a choice. Every moment we're making this choice. And if you failed to make the right choice the last moment, you got this moment right here to make the right choice, to bounce back, to make sure you realign with your goal, with your purpose, and make sure that you are on purpose and moving towards your goals. So if you could take one thing away from this, guys, it's the fact that your energy is everything. That's one thing I hope you can take away. And it's the fact that you are in control, whether you know it or not. You're always in control. And the biggest and the best and what the most necessary thing that you can do for yourself is to take a step back, acknowledge your control over yourself. You may not have control over anybody else. You may not have control over any other physical thing in this world. You can't control the wind, the weather, can't control politics, you can't control nations, you can't control other people, can't control animals, especially the little chihuahuas that you don't see when you round the corner and then they start at your ankles. Oh, that's a different story and it's horrible. But you can't control external circumstances, but you can control yourself. And from there, that then leads you into mastery, because you can understand yourself, you understand how you operate, understand how your energy that you're putting forth affects the world around you, and you then can start to change things for the better or for the worse. Hopefully for the better, because that's how we do it. So, all right, dude, let's open up for some questions, man. Did you have any questions over that and try to expand off that?
I'd love to hear from you on certain emotional states that were negative that you cut out of life. So I knew for me at some point, like, and I'm still working on discovering these, there are certain activities I do in life that I had to cut out. Like I realized after like sitting and thinking about them, what they do emotionally to me. And that takes, looking back, it takes a little bit of perspective, a little bit of even like meditation in a way on things that you've done in the past. What are some things for you that you've completely cut out because you know that it's not where you want to be and it's affecting everything else in a negative way?
Oh, dude, what a great question. I'm really glad you brought this up. You pointed this out because, yeah, dude, I've gone through life and I made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I'm grateful for those mistakes because they've helped me sharpen my axe, sharpen my tool so I can gain wisdom. But with that being said, I had to suffer the consequences at the same time on some of these. So the biggest thing that I really started to just understand the effects that it had on me and how it was corrupting my life, how it was corrupting my mind, was really alcohol. Honestly, it started as something fun, started as something that I can do. I had never drank until I was like 17. And then I started hanging out with friends, just doing it socially, and then joined a fraternity in college. And then it started to be something where every time I hung out with somebody, I needed to drink, but I wouldn't just drink. I would take the glass, have a straw, and the first sip, I would down the whole thing, and then I would need another. I would just drink so fast, and before I know it, I was so hammered, and that was fun for me at some point, which some days, I'm not gonna lie, we had a lot of fun. But with that, there were a lot of other days that were not so fun, and there were a lot of other things that stemmed from that were not so fun, that were not so good, and the way sometimes it damaged a lot of relationships as well. with, you know, friends and with significant others, women, you know, just understanding that made me wake up, made me be like, dude, okay, I can't do this anymore. Something's got to change. Because one, like just to talk about what it was doing on the mental side was one thing, but what it was doing on the physical side inside me, alcohol is a toxin. You know, it stops so many chemical processes in the body that are very valuable, things that you need, like protein synthesis. That's very important. And it dehydrates your body. We need water, but that's a whole nother point. You know, I'm not trying to say alcohol is good or alcohol is bad. I'm talking about my personal thing here.
Yeah.
So with that, um, just understanding how it affected me, it's just something that I didn't want, because my goal, and this is why I didn't want it, because my goal here in life is I want to live past 100. I want to be healthy all the way up until that day. And I want to be in the gym when I'm 90. I want to be out deadlifting some of these kids and stuff. You know, I'm going to be that dude. And in order to do that, I got to make sure my body's healthy. You know, my heart is healthy and optimal. Every organ in my body is healthy and optimal. So that can't happen if I'm putting toxins into my body. And this isn't just alcohol. This is a lot of fast foods, processed meats, deli meats, honestly, pork, all these other different types of toxins that are in our society all around us. We just need to stay clear, and we need to understand what they are and how they affect us, so then we can manage it better, control us. But dude, from that, man, when I changed my outlook, when I changed how I really saw it, because it's one thing to say I don't want to drink anymore, and it's another to say, okay, no, seriously, like I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not attached to this. There's not a ball and chain around me anymore. I don't have that conviction to do it. Like I'll do it if I want to, but if I don't have to do it. You know, that changed when I started just to take a step back and understand what it was really doing to me. And then from there, dude, that really helped me to have that control, have that power to start putting my energy towards not quite the action itself, but more so the thought process about it, because how I think about it affects what I do, how I feel about it. So if I can change how I think about it, if I can look at that and contort it in a way where it's not manipulating what it really is or lying to myself, but trying to shift the perspective and see that, okay, I'm striving for a larger goal here. I'm shooting to maintain health, maintain muscularity. I'm a bodybuilder, you know, I'm building the body, and I'm trying to make sure that body, that vessel, that temple is pristine throughout my whole entire life, so I can have a long, healthy life, so I can raise my kids and then live with grandkids and all this stuff, you know, what life may bring. I'm not sure about, but in order to do that, I got to make sure that I'm staying aligned with that goal. So I was then having that goal to put on a pedestal, to focus on, not creating an idol from it, but to have something to strive towards. You can start to make decisions. Is this good? Is this going to lead me to that long-term success that we were talking about? Or is this evil? Is this something that is going to allow me to feel good now, but cause me suffering in the future? And then just making those two decisions, just making that decision based on those two outcomes, that why in the road really helped me to kind of gain more perspective, gain elevation over alcohol, and not just alcohol, marijuana as well. You know, both of those very addictive in a way. You just need to do it in certain times, and it can kind of have the same effect on people. So just taking that step to elevate yourself so you can think in a different way about it, so you can start to control your actions towards it. And then, dude, it opens the door so much more, because once you stop putting energy towards something that is not leading you towards your goals, that frees up so much more energy that you can put. Just like we talked about from the start, energy is not created nor destroyed. It's transmuted. It's transferred. Right?
Heck yeah.
How about you? What was yours?
So there's a lot of things, but I think choosing alcohol as like a cornerstone of it is perfect, because
Yeah.
I think when you limit or you stop the consumption of alcohol, you are forced into a lot of uncomfortability, because you lose certain friends, which is actually great in the long run, because it forces you to find better friends and find friends and relationships that are more aligned with what you truly are. So like it definitely adds to long-term happiness and new activities. So it's always like, what do we do on a Friday night if we're not drinking, right? And I've gone through periods where I've tried different sports, where I go kayaking or hiking or all these other things that are out there to do and are a blast and have made my life so much more enjoyable. And so whenever, someone's like, I'm in a rut or something, I always ask what their alcohol intake is, because it gets a little uncomfortable, but you find out so many things about yourself and you end up getting away from so many negative emotions and negative environments, usually, when
Yeah.
you branch out. So for me, it was alcohol, for sure. And I still have a little bit of limited use, though, now, right now, with getting ready for the show.
Yes,
I think
sir.
it's a great thing, but I think something that I've learned from dieting recently is like food is also that way, and certain kinds of foods are that way, right? Is like everything's meant to be in kind of a limited quantity. Like you
Yeah.
can't have every night, and you have to learn
Mhm.
to really enjoy stuff. So we were talking the other week. I had a steak last night for my birthday, and it was the best steak I ever had. And I don't think normally I would think it was that great, but because I've been eating the way I have been, it just was the best. And I realized that that delayed gratification, not drinking, right,
Yeah.
um,
Mhm.
and finding deeper aspects of life to live for, really create a great environment for me.
Oh, oh, you just said something so beautiful. I love when you said that, dude. It does create an environment that's great to live in, to prosper in. And you know what you're doing with that? You're living with more passion because you're choosing not to go down the path of choosing the things that are going to dull you, that are going to give you so much stimulation that you're eventually going to be overstimulated and doled out, into this zombie mode where everything just is, there's no real joy or excitement or enthusiasm with it, it just is. It's just there. It's cool. I
Yeah.
like it, but it's just there. We can get into a state of being where we're living with passion, we're living with energy, we're
Mhm.
showing our emotions and we're living through them, good and bad, because we should show our emotions. So when you do that, when you stay on point with your goals, you become more passionate. You can teach your body, teach your brain to be more hardwired towards living passionately. And that changes everything. That changes how you experience things, how your joy and fulfillment is. And that allows you to really have that truly fulfilling life.